I'm here with Brady Hansen, 11 years, probably almost to the day since we made the fateful run up Bear Peak. And Brady and I have stayed in contact via emails and things like that, but this is our first ever conversation, I think, about that day since then. So let's not beat around the bush. I mean, I know people that have read the book, have read that story about the day we tried to run up Bear Peak, or I guess the day we did run up Bear Peak. Um, and I'm sure you've read the story in the book. I don't know how often you've thought about it since that day, but uh, I wrote that story from my recollection. It's one man's memory. So what when you read that story, do you think I got it pretty accurate? How do you remember it? Obviously, through your eyes, it's going to look a little different.
Well, yeah, accuracy about a story like that's going to be a little bit relative to whoever's perspective is going for. So, yeah, I mean, reading your version of the story was kind of cool because it filled in a few of the holes from my perspective. And there were several holes, especially towards the end of the story,
Oh, bet.
uh, that needed to be filled. So, no, I think it was pretty accurate as far as the description goes, and there are a lot of side stories that can be told, but that was a great description of it.
Right. What were you wearing that day? Do you remember?
Oh, I totally remember. Yeah, I had on my nice shorts, uh, some ankle socks, a t-shirt, but I had gloves, so
Yeah.
I had the nice black jersey
Target
style gloves.
Target style gloves, and yeah, so
Yeah,
so it's December, it's
right.
Colorado, and you're running in shorts. Um,
You get warm,
yeah,
after.
you do. I mean, and then you get cold. Uh,
That's
so I mean, I know that for me, Brady, I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people have read that story in the book, and they've asked me about it because they think it's one of the more compelling stories in the book, and clearly that day for me, scared as I've ever been to this day in my life. I've never been full of that much terror um, before or since. Thank God. And but I look back at that day, and had things gone differently for either of us that day, obviously you wouldn't be here, um,
Mhm.
and I don't think I would be here either. I mean, I definitely would have lost my job. I don't know how I would have lived with myself. Um, it was a pretty hardcore experience, but how is that? What are your feelings about being a part of that and doing that whole thing and surviving? And thanks for
Yeah.
not hating me, by the way. It's really nice of you too.
Interestingly enough, that never came up. I never connected the two. I love adventures. You know that. I've always been that way. Going out to Bear Peak was amazing. I've never second guessed anybody that I ran with, anybody's responsibility. In the end, it came down to my own choices and things. But really, having hindsight that I'm okay and you're okay, I definitely don't regret any of it. So I think it was an awesome story, and the interesting part about it is, in the moment, it's just something that's happening to me, and I'm kind of reacting to it. Looking back and having a decade of life since then, at different points in my life, I've actually been able to draw on that one experience, whether it's been in an essay or whether it's been during my own personal meditation about life and about goals and about things that I need to do, or whether it's me and trying to inspire anybody else in various roles that I've had in my life. I don't think there really has been one day since it's happened that I've ever regretted it or blamed anybody for anything. So,
Well, I mean, it's like you said, all is well that ends well. Nobody did
right,
get seriously hurt. Nobody died. I mean, it was close.
right.
I think if not for those hikers, I think we would have had a very different outcome because I certainly didn't know where you were. Um,
Absolutely. Neither did
it's
I.
it's funny. I've actually had a couple people ask me, they said I was making it up when at the very like right after this happens, we're in the car going home and you're eating a sandwich in the front seat. I can see it like it's yesterday. and
Big sandwich.
big sandwich. We stopped down there at King Supers and loaded up on the
Yep.
food. I mean, I can see it like it's yesterday, and you were you were like, yeah, that, and you had food in your mouth, and you're like, that was awesome. And they're like, he did not say that. I'm like, what?
Honestly, I remember that. I totally remember that car ride back. You know, you were driving. You were somewhat. I mean, I was kind of confused that I didn't know how serious it was at that point. I could tell that you were flustered, if that's the right word. Probably conservatively put, you were flustered, and you got me a nice sandwich. I was starving. I mean, I was just, really, really hungry.
Shivering
Uh,
burns a lot of calories.
I'm sure I did. And, I hadn't eaten breakfast, which was another silly thing on my part. Zero breakfast. It's too early for breakfast, right? So, horrible idea, But in high school, you don't think of everything. But no breakfast. Had been out there for hours and come back, and you had the air, every vent pointed towards me on full heat. I wasn't really feeling anything. I think Jacqueline. I remember Jacqueline was in the back seat just trying to, rub all over and try to, raise the body temperature at all. And I was just thinking, man, that was epic. That was awesome.
It was a pretty
And it
epic
was.
day. It was a pretty epic day. So, as a future doctor, and this is one decision I still don't understand why I didn't make it. But don't you think I should have taken you to the hospital? Like hypothermia, like I don't understand my own decision making process at that point. I don't know what.
Yeah, I am EMT trained now, so I do have some practical training. I have done a lot of that type of stuff, and also if you'd asked my mom, yep.
So wait, does your mom's read the story now?
Oh yeah, yeah. She found out the first time she found out was actually, Natalie Chittister.
Oh yeah.
her her parents and my parents were friends. She was on the team as well, and Natalie's dad came up to my mom and said, "Man, that sure was a scary thing up at Bear Peak." I hadn't said anything to my parents at that point, and she said, "Yeah, wait, what?" And so yeah, that's beside the point. But that's how she found out, and yeah, thinking back on it, definitely was hypothermic. I mean, there's no question about it. I was seeing things. There were some nice visions that I had, but putting all silliness aside, yeah, I mean, I really was hallucinating. I was severely dehydrated. I definitely had an empty stomach, but even more seriously, I was dehydrated and my core temperature was well below optimal range. So, yeah,
So
probably should
so that was probably mistake number 17 that day. I mean,
have. Sure.
unreal. Yeah, I read that story now. I just read it today to refamiliarize myself with it. I'm like, as a little bit older and maybe marginally wiser, there's no doubt today I'd go to the hospital, but it kind of brings up a whole separate issue of young naive coaches.
Sure. Again, I didn't think about it either. I mean,
Yeah.
for one reason or another, it was just, I think we were all just happy to be back together again and on our way home. And, I was eating and no harm done, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't seem like you were in any once you got in a warm car, and I remember you were saying how hungry you were. It didn't seem like you were in any sort of distress other than just being chilly,
Right.
which is the only thing I can think of why I didn't take you to the hospital. But I mean, as an older person now, if I was my boss, I would have so fired me.
I would have given you another chance.
Oh, thanks, man.
Not a problem.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
hey, appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and being on our blog and stuff. I'm sure that that have read the story are happy to put a face with a name, uh, to see that you actually did make it out okay, and that I don't know if all's well that ends well, but at least um, it's a memory we share, and so I think we're bonded in that sense for forever. Just pretty cool. Just I might not ever want to hang out with your mom.
Probably best for your health and safety to follow that rule.
Exactly. All right. Hey, thanks, Brady.
Thank you.